imagine you have two goals, both of them super important to you, both of them utterly incompatible with each other. So what are you going to do? Hi everyone, welcome back to Trees and Turtles. I'm Imogen. In this video I'm showing you what to do when your goals conflict with each other. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that, and let's get into the video. Sometimes your goals will conflict with each other, and sometimes this is unavoidable, especially if you have a lot of goals. So here's what to do. Here are some examples of goals which conflict with each other. So let's think about it from a sports perspective. I don't know if any of you do sports. If you do, cool. If you don't, bear with me. Train for a marathon and do a lot of high intensity interval training. So these are quite different skills. Obviously, I've never trained for a marathon. If some of you have, great, let's hear about it. Please comment below, tell me about your experience. It's something I would love to do one day. Anyway, point is, high intensity interval training is something that you do in very short sprints, and it gets your strength up quite a lot, whereas marathons kind of train your stamina more. So both of those are quite different things, and if you're going to be focusing on one very intensively, your ability to do the other might be diminished. So you might need to get your marathon done first before you can switch to high intensity interval training. I mean, if you're like Superman or something, maybe you could do both, but I'm not Superman, so that is a goal that conflicts with another goal. Here is another goal that conflicts with a fourth goal, which is one that I've actually experienced. This is tracking your sleep with an app on your phone near the bed, obviously, very specific, and having your phone across the room for a wake-up alarm. So I use a sleep app called Sleep Cycle, and basically what it does is I put it next to the bed, and it's got a microphone, and it just records, like, everything around me while I'm sleeping, and from that it works out how long I've slept, what my sleep quality was. It just tracks it and gives me stats, which is great because I'm a nerd for numbers, and also I'm a nerd for this sort of self-improvement productivity stuff. So I love that, but also, you know, when I wake up and my phone is right next to my bed, then I'm just tempted to grab it and start scrolling and not get out of bed for half an hour, which is bad. So those are two goals which kind of conflict with each other. So what are we going to do about these goals? Because obviously all of those four goals I've listed, they're all great, right? And we want to achieve them all. We want to achieve all the things. But sometimes goals conflict with each other, and the first tip I have is to work out which goals are compatible and run them in parallel. Okay, so you have these two goals, they are fighting. They do not want to be ran together, they can't be run together. The town ain't big enough for both of them. So pull them apart and put them with other goals. So sometimes you're going to have to put this goal with some other goals that it will run nicely and play well with. And if you're working to deadlines, self-imposed or external, running goals in parallel that work in parallel give you more time to do the other goals later. So yeah, you know, maybe I want to test out this new sleep app, but I can train for a marathon at the same time. Like, there's nothing getting in the way of those two goals being together. And then later on, maybe I want to test out having my phone alarm across the room. I can do that when I'm in the high intensity interval training phase of my life. So sometimes you can switch goals around and make them work together, run them in parallel, and then when you have done that, you can do something else. So think about ways to alter goals to make them more compatible. So if you have two goals that they're not compatible, can you change one goal, or can you change both goals to make them more compatible? So if one goal, let's say one goal requires you to be in a particular place, so look for other ways to achieve other goals in that location. So let's say you have to go to, I don't know, you have to go to London for a conference, and you have got a lot of things to read. So is there any way you can get those books digitally or something like, or online? I mean, that's the same thing. Anyway, point is, can you alter your goals so that you can do one while you're doing the other, make them more compatible? There's a lot of ways you can do this, and it will depend on your particular situation, but that is the main tip. Think about ways to alter goals to make them more compatible. So this third tip kind of relates back to my first one, and I've referred to it a bit, but anyway, choose which goals to do first. So obviously, if your goals are in conflict, you'll probably have to do them one after the other. Like, obviously, you know, time is finite, it's linear, and we have to pick sometimes. Prioritise which one's the most important. So this is where you get to play favourites a little bit. Schedule the others for afterwards. So you got to pick which goal is most urgent, which goal is most important, which one do I want to do first. So my third tip's kind of related to my third one. This is where you get to play favourites a little bit. So choose which goals to do first. If your goals are in conflict, you'll probably have to do them one after another. You know, time is finite, it's linear, you gotta do one goal after another, as far as we know. Anyway, until some more advances in physics, you have to do one goal after another. Prioritise which ones are most urgent or important and schedule the others for afterwards. Make sure you schedule a time for them, otherwise you're just going to end up putting off goals indefinitely, and that's not great. So, you know, what I'm saying is sometimes you got to play favourites. Don't play favourites too much. Make sure that your goals that come second, they feel valued, they feel loved, and they get, you know, they get done, ultimately. So I guess that's my third tip. On to the fourth one. This one you're not gonna like. Like you're gonna hate me for saying this. Anyway, I'm gonna say it. If your goals are in conflict, you have to choose. Honestly, I hate this as much as you do. I want to do all the things. Like, you know me. If you follow me on Instagram, if you don't, please do. My tag's at the end of the video. If you follow me on YouTube or anything, you will know that this is in my personality. That I love to do all the things. Like, I want to apply for all of the internships, and I want to have 3 degrees, and I want to learn 10 languages, and I want to journal and travel the world, and sometimes your goals really are in conflict and you have to choose, and that sucks. And I understand that. Evaluate in this situation, evaluate which is most important to you, and which will be most important to you in 5 or 10 years' time. So I think in 5 or 10 years' time is quite a good metric, because, you know, sometimes things that seem very important now, you don't care. Like, even in 1 year's time, 6 months' time, sometimes I've had things happen in my life that felt absolutely earth-shattering at the time, and I was obsessed with them, you know, for good or bad. Like, I was in a depressive episode and I felt like the world was killing me or whatever. Anyway, or I was like having a really good time and I was like, oh, this thing is amazing, and then in 2 months I just didn't really care, and in 2 months sometimes I just didn't really care about the bad thing either. So 5 or 10 years should be more than enough time. I said 5 or 10 years because it's up to you. You know, sometimes people don't have 5 or 10 year plans, but evaluate which. You could probably get a pretty good idea of what's going to be most important to you in 5 or 10 years' time, and that should be a good guide as to which to pick. Like, I think this is similar to deciding your career. Like, kind of deciding your career is something you do and then you pursue it. You know, people change careers, and I will probably change careers, but I think it's something that you need to pick because you're going to be there for like 5 years at least, and maybe 10 years, maybe a significant chunk of your life. And sometimes you do have to pick, and at least pick what you want to do first, and put like your first and, I don't know, probably not best, but your first effort into. So yeah, use the 5 to 10 year rule. So that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it and hit the subscribe button. I upload new productivity content every Monday. And this is Trees and Turtles. My name is Imogen. Please follow me on all the socials, which will be on the last slide. I will see you next week. Bye.